Welcome to Buffzone. My name is Ringo. This is Neill Woelk. We cover the University of Colorado football team for the Daily Camera newspaper. This week, the Buffs traveled to Morgantown, West Virginia for another Thursday night game against the West Virginia Mountaineers. These two teams met on Thursday night last year, and the Buffs won in overtime on an Eric Goodman field goal. Neill, what do you expect this time around?
Kyle, hard to tell what to expect when they go on the road. Obviously, their first trip away from home this year did not turn out well. It was a thumping that they took in Toledo. I think they're going to play better this week. I expect a close game. I think Colorado's defense got a little bit of confidence in the shutout win over Wyoming, and I think the offense should be a little bit improved. It's a high-powered West Virginia team, but it's also a team that's prone to some turnovers, and if Colorado can force a few, I think they can make it a close game and anything can happen.
See, you're saying you expect a close game, but I'm still not sure that this CU team has done anything to merit us thinking that it can travel halfway across the country to the Eastern time zone and compete against a speedy team like West Virginia, in hostile territory. Like you said, the last time this happened, similar circumstances, Toledo, national television, a lot of athletic players on that Toledo offense, and they just carved the Buffs up. CU has gone back to a simpler approach with his defense, and I guess we'll find out how big a difference that actually has made, or whether they just got healthy, so to speak, against a poor Wyoming offense. But I'm not convinced that this CU team is ready to go out there and put up much of a fight against the Mountaineers.
Well, I think they better be. I think this is a game that if they're going to continue any kind of turnaround that they may have started against Wyoming, they better get it done this weekend. I mean, this schedule that they have coming up right now is a tough one. It's at West Virginia, at Texas, and then they get Kansas at home. I mean, you're talking, a good West Virginia team and then two nationally ranked unbeaten teams right now. So this is a game that I think they've had 10 days off to get ready for, 10 days to prepare for. I think this is one of those really interesting games for them that if they can come out, play well, and maybe sneak away with a win, this is a game that can, help them, much more down the season. Otherwise, they're looking at a tough year.
Yeah, you mentioned that they better be, and I agree with you, because if they don't lose it, or if they don't win this game, you're talking about going to Texas, then having Kansas come in here, and all the negativity that surrounded this program for the first 2 weeks of the season is bound to return if they do lose this game, and especially if they lose 2 in a row and end up starting the season 1-4. I just don't see it, though. I mean, this team hasn't won a road game now since 2007 at Texas Tech. The Buffs have played relatively well on the road under Dan Hawkins. A 57-yard field goal at Nebraska last year prevented them from winning there. They played relatively well in a hostile environment at Georgia in 2006. They played well at Oklahoma a couple of years ago, and
they played well for a half at Iowa State.
Yeah, kept that game close in Oklahoma and going into the fourth quarter. So the Buffs have played well on the road under Dan Hawkins, but most of the time they just haven't been able to get it done on the road, and I don't see them doing it this week.
I think the defense is better than they showed in the first 2 games this year, and I think the West Virginia offense has big strike capability, but I think the defense can go out there and do what they did a year ago against a similar West Virginia team. This team throws the ball a lot more, but it still has that big play feel, that big play type of potential. And that defense, CU's defense a year ago kept Pat White relatively in check, kept Noel Devine relatively in check, and I think they can do that this year. I think that if they go out there and play the same way that play the way they're capable of playing, I think they can keep that team in check, and then it'll be up to the offense. And I think this is the game where Cody Hawkins will be a difference maker in one way or another. I hate to put the blame on Cody Hawkins for a loss at Toledo when they scored 54 points. I don't care who your quarterback is, but I think this is a game that's going to be relatively close, and it's going to demand some playmakers down the stretch. And if Cody Hawkins and the offense can make some plays, if they can run the ball, keep the score close, keep a little time of possession, and start fast, don't get in that big hole, then I think they have a good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, you mentioned playmakers, and this West Virginia offense has it's not going to be the same West Virginia offense that came here and threw the ball, I think 14 times last year. That's not going to happen in this game.
And something yards.
Right. It's a much more balanced West Virginia attack the Buffs are going to face this time, and there are playmakers on this West Virginia offense. At wide receiver, they have maybe a better overall quarterback right now than Pat White, and this kid Jarrett Brown. I know that's saying a lot because Pat White was an incredible guy. He set records over a 4-year career, and he's playing in the NFL right now. But I just think the way they have this set up with Jarrett Brown and Noel Devine, a ton of speed in the backfield there, it's just a more diverse offense, and the Buffs haven't shown me that they can contain an offense right now that isn't just sputtering and
Not
struggling.
Very good.
Right. I mean,
I think the wild card here, in my mind, is Jarrett Brown has shown a tendency to throw interceptions. He had, I think, 4 against Auburn. He has been erratic at times. He's had a lot of big plays and a lot of yards, but his accuracy has not been pinpoint perfect by any means. And I think this secondary of Colorado's, if they play within themselves, if they play disciplined football, I think they can come up with a couple turnovers. I liked Colorado's pass rush against Wyoming. I think that has improved quite a bit with Beatty and guys like that coming off the end. So I think there's a chance for them to go out and play well, and I really think it's going to be up to the defense to make sure that they don't get down 7 or 14 or 21 zip in a big hurry in a hostile environment.
Yeah, this offense hasn't really set the world on fire either, and I mean, you're talking about an offense that scored 24 points against Wyoming. So it's probably going to be a lower scoring game. A lot of the games CU has played in the Dan Hawkins era, CU hasn't scored much more than 20 points in a lot of those games, and I think they'll be hard pressed to score more than 20, 25 in this game. So I think it's going to come down to, does that tendency from Jarrett Brown continue to throw interceptions? Does that continue, or does the CU defense tendency to give up big plays, does that continue? And I guess whichever wins out there might win the game.
I'll take Colorado 24-22.
All right. Well, I'm taking West Virginia. I'll go 24-20.
Oh, okay. And by the way, the Texas game they announced this week will be on TV a week after the West Virginia game. ESPN, 5 o'clock start in Colorado.
In Colorado?
5 o'clock in Colorado.
Oh, okay.
6 o'clock in Texas.
Yeah, the game's actually in Texas.
Yeah.
On Saturday the 10th.
5 o'clock Mountain Time.
All right. Another ESPN game.
7 national TV games for the Buffs this year, I think, is what the count is now.
So far?
Yeah.